there are a couple Penn State wrestlers who are still wrestling, and you may be wondering, how the heck are these guys still competing? And it's a really valid question. It's a really valid question. Guys like Shakur Rasheed, Anthony Cassar, and Kyle Conel, who Conel, of course, is a transfer from Kent State to Penn State, but how are these guys still on the mat? How are they still allowed? Like they're like 30 years old. They're not actually 30 years old, but I'm just making a point. So Penn State has 3 6-year seniors, and actually Cassar's, I don't believe he's considered a senior because of how his eligibility works. But I will get into that and talk about how each of these guys are seen and how, like, what weight class, or not weight class, but what year they're in. So the first, and how they got there. Okay, so first up is Anthony Cassar. Anthony Cassar is technically a junior, and that's because of his eligibility right now. He started in 2014, 2015. That's when each of these guys started. He took a redshirt year, then he got hurt in 2015, medical redshirted, didn't wrestle any matches, and same with 2016, didn't wrestle any matches. And I think that's what really helped allow them to, or allowed him to continue to wrestle in this year and next year. He was granted 2 years of eligibility. And because of that, technically his 2017 season was his freshman season, was 15-2. And his sophomore year, or his senior year, I guess what we thought it was, he was 30-1, won the national title. Now coming in this year, a 6-year senior, a junior, whatever you want to call him, he has a couple years of eligibility left, and it'll be interesting to see how he does. So that's how Cassar has that eligibility. Now, as far as Shakur Rasheed, the other Penn State wrestler, started in 2014 with that redshirt year. Redshirt freshman was 17-7. Then he had a medical redshirt year in 2016 towards the beginning of the year. He only wrestled in one open, and then he was hurt after his first duel versus Lehigh. And that's really why I think a lot of these, if you're hurt, first couple matches of the season, the NCAA is going to allow you to take that medical redshirt year and be granted another year of eligibility. Now, from then on out, his story is pretty common. He was, I guess, technically a senior last year, so he's a 6-year senior this year, and that's why Shakur is granted that extra year of eligibility. Now, the next guy is Kyle Conel. Kyle started in 2014, wrestled his freshman year. Same with his sophomore year. Now, he took his redshirt year in 2016 and only wrestled one match. And that's because he wrestled a couple freestyle tournaments, and that's really kind of why I think that also helps play into this. He's not going to be granted another year of eligibility, at least as far as I'm concerned, but he did wrestle in his junior year, had a crazy standout national tournament, and then in his 2018, he had his medical redshirt year last year. He got hurt in one of the first duels of the season, which was very unfortunate, and that's why this year is his senior year. Now, the other guys that I do want to talk about at Penn State are other guys who could become 6-year seniors. So the first guy here is Aaron Brooks. Aaron Brooks, the 4-time Maryland State champion. And I wasn't even going to do this topic this week, but I found it just very peculiar that Penn State was doing things like this, and not doing things like this that anything's wrong with it, but just that there are different things happening here, different things at play. Now, Aaron Brooks took 1 year off of training. He was training last year, 2018-2019. He actually graduated high school in 2018, and during that time, he even wrestled a couple of high school tournaments in his college year. So technically, because he was training last year, and we could see him take that Olympic red shirt this year, very high likelihood that Aaron Brooks takes that Olympic red shirt year, he could be wrestling up until 2026, when that would be his redshirt senior year, and that's assuming that he's granted that Olympic redshirt, and that he's also, if he's even eligible for that, and as well as what if he's hurt? There are a couple things at play here. So he could be 25 years old by graduation, but another guy who could be a 6-year senior, and there's one more guy who could be a 6-year senior, and that's Seth Nevels. Seth Nevels also took 1 year off of training in 2018, 2019, and he graduated high school in 2018, was a top recruit, and like I said, we can see a very similar situation to Aaron Brooks and to a lot of these other guys. So What do you think about this? Are you excited to see these Penn State wrestlers wrestle this year? I know I am. I'm very excited that Cassar is back yet again for another year to kick some of the competition's butt.